मॉड्यूल ओपन करते म्हणजे त्याच्यातलं नाही स्टॅटिस्टिक्सचा आज थोडासा मी बेस घेणार आहे या मुलांचा. कर हां आता ऐकू येतोय माझा आवाज? हां आता स्टार्ट कर. हॅलो हॅलो एव्हरीवन. ते तेवढं हे नाही आहे का, चार्ज अप नाही आहे का? हॅलो हॅलो हॅलो
हॅलो हॅलो
हॅलो हां okay, so let us start with today's session. So today I am going to take a few basics regarding statistics. Okay, till 10th standard I don't think so statistics much part was there. काय काय होतं statistics मध्ये? What all was there? Tally marks, then what have you studied? Frequency distribution table, then what else did you study? Bar graph, pie chart, huh? All these things were there. Now let us see what is the basic of statistics. Now, when we talk about statistics, what do you think is exactly statistics? Suppose a large amount of data is to be stored. Let's say population of India, data of population of India regarding how many people are doing their job or how many people are jobless. We have to find that. Okay, so now what we are going to do, the population, if you see India's population is too much. Okay, so when a large amount of data is to be stored, statistics helps us a lot. Okay, statistics is nothing but a branch of mathematics. Okay, statistics is nothing but a branch of mathematics. So if you can see over here, the statistics word originated from the Latin word status. Okay, and I think according to the German word statistic. Okay, now definition of statistics, we'll read that. Statistics may be defined as a data, qualitative as well as quantitative, that are collected usually with a view of having statistical analysis. Now what is qualitative data? So for the population, what will be the qualitative data? How many are men and how many are women? That will give us the quality. Okay, and what is quantitative data? Suppose people having job is let's say 10 lakhs, not having job is 2 crores, let's say for example. Okay, so qualitative as well as quantitative data, when it is stored, it is called as statistics. Large amount of data, and store करने के बाद what do we need to do? After storing this data, we have to perform various operations on that data. Okay, in order to get how many people are jobless, if jobless, why, they have gone to which streams, okay, and all such kind. So that is very important. Now, often statistics has applications in fields of economics, business management, commerce, and industry. Okay, so commerce is one of the main things. Economics, as you can see, you must have studied also in 11th and 12th that economics and statistics are closely related to each other. Now there is a chapter called as index numbers for us. Okay, so what are index numbers? They are going to change with respect to time. So that is basically a part of economics, and it is also closely related to statistics because large amount of data when it is stored. Okay, so economics and statistics would go hand in hand. So basically there are different types of shares or different types of commodities. Their prices are changing every year. Okay, so this data, so basically it is a part of economics because the price is nothing but economic, price of any commodity, and statistics such that in the year, let's say 2017, rice price was, let's say rupees 100. Right now in 2025, it has increased up to 125 per kg. So that is statistics. By using statistics, we are going to see how much the rate of rice has increased over a period of time. But you should always remember that while considering such years, or when you have to see data from different years, that particular year should not face any adverse condition. Can you tell me why? Because let's say in the year 2020-21, COVID hit. Okay. So those particular years cannot be taken as base years. Why? Because demand and supply ratio will change during that particular period. So as you have already seen, we all have seen that the vaccination increased. The demand for vaccination increased, but the supply was less. Okay, so you have to consider a base year in which it's a normal, uneventful year, in which normal conditions prevail. Okay, understood? Now, here they have given us econometrics, which is nothing but a branch of economics that interacts with statistics in a positive way. Okay, so econometrics is a branch which will consider economics and statistics together. Also, it is used in business management, in commerce and industry. So see, when we talk about business management, statistical decision is made on a particular thing. So in management, decisions have to be done in advance to the actual condition. Correct? So decision have to be made, and accordingly, if you act on those decisions, then your business is going to be to flourish in a positive way. Otherwise, if you don't follow it correctly, then it may decline also. Okay. Next is statistics in commerce and industry. Again, we know that. Why in commerce? Can you tell me? Price of goods, but that is related to economics. Then for commerce, what will you use? Data on previous sales, raw materials required in any industry, wages and salaries, products of our identical nature of other factories. Okay, so all these things are very important. All right. Now, when we talk about limitations of statistics, can you tell me what are the limitations of statistics? They have given here statistics deals with an aggregate. Do you know what is an aggregate? Aggregate यानी average. So statistics always deals with an average value. Average value यानी क्या? Let's say it is 29.5. So we can approximately convert 29.5 to what? 30. Okay. Statistics is concerned with quantitative data. We know statistics is just numbers, maths. Quantity is very important for statistics. Future projections of sales, production, price and quantity are possible under a specific set of conditions. Okay. So if you have to analyze, let's say there is a builder who has taken a plot. He is going to construct a building on that plot. So he needs to see whether how much percentage of sales will be done right now and after he completes the project. So for future projection of sales, कि कितने होंगे sales, कम होंगे, ज़्यादा होंगे, depending upon where that particular area is located, where the building is constructed. All these things are considered. So this is a limitation of statistics because that is not possible. You can just analyze the data or compare the data from the previous years and just make an observation कि in this particular year, this data or this quantity will increase or decrease. Okay. So statistics will not help you in the future projection of sales. So that's a limitation. And the theory of statistical inferences is built upon random sampling. Okay. Large area hai, suppose. So that area is first divided into 4 parts. And then based upon that particular, so that one part, 1/4 of the entire area, that is going to give us a sample. So whenever large amount of data is going to get analyzed, it will be first converted into a smaller sample. And each and every sample will be analyzed to get some result. Understood? Now, we know about data. See, statistics, the main tool of statistics is data. Without that statistics won't work. Okay. So what is data? Data is nothing but a qualitative characteristic and a quantitative characteristic, both. But generally, data is classified as primary data and secondary data. Okay. Now, can anybody tell me why is the collection of data very important? Can you tell me why collection of data is very important? What do you think? Without data, without numbers, statistics is not going to work. So for statistic to work, basic tool is going to be data. Okay. Now, what is primary data? Let us see. So here they have given an example. Professor Das collects the data on the height of every student in his class. Okay. Then these would be the primary data for him. Height of every student is going to be the primary data. Okay. However, if another person, say Professor Bhargav, uses the data as collected by Das to find average height of the students. So, समझ में आया? Primary data is what? All the height of different students in his class. Now, based upon this information, if some particular analysis is to be done, then basic primary data has to be used. Based upon primary data, only secondary data we can get. So what is that secondary data? Average height of students in this class. Okay, so for secondary data to work, primary data is compulsory. So understood the difference between primary data and secondary data? Now for primary data, they have given us 4 methods. First method is interview method, mailed questionnaire method, observation method, or questionnaires filled and sent by enumerators. Okay. Now interview method again can be divided into personal interview, indirect interview, or telephonic interview. So what is personal interview? I am coming to one of my students and asking him about his socio-economic background, let's say. Okay, so I am interviewing that person. So that is going to give me interview method, personal interview. Or suppose I am asking Param, who is my student, about another student, let's say Ananya. I want to have some information of Ananya from Param. Okay, so what in this case, indirectly I am taking an interview. Whose interview? Param's interview. But to find out whose data? Ananya's data. So that is indirect method. Okay. And the third one is a telephonic interview. So you know, telephonic interview, you can just call up anyone and ask about the data. Okay. So this is the interview method. Now in mailed questionnaire, generally for mailed questionnaire, have you seen it basically comprises of a framing or a well drafted and soundly sequenced questionnaire. Okay, covering all the important aspects of the problem under consideration and sending them to the respondents with prepaid stamp after providing all the necessary guidelines. So guidelines have to be mentioned, that if suppose if I give both of you a questionnaire, let's say, so I will give you one set, you one set, but I will have to explain you that these fields are compulsory. The star marked fields are not compulsory. So it is your choice if you want to fill them or not. Okay. Now, what is the main advantage of mailed questionnaire is that a wide area can be converted. So instead of taking interview of each and every of my students and asking him about data, it is easier for me to give you a mailed questionnaire in which you will attempt all the necessary questions, and the star mark questions you can do if you want to. So it is going to help me to cover a large amount of data, to gather a large amount of data. Okay. Then the third method is the observation method. So observation method, as you all know, if we observe, let's say I am a teacher, I am going to observe the height and weight of students, let's say from standard 6 to standard 10th. Now, when I want to see this particular thing, I know that height is also going to increase as well as weight is going to increase, but not for all children. A few children will gain weight. A few children will gain height. Okay. So by observation, I will categorize the data correctly. So I will make two columns. First column will be of weight, second column will be of height. So in weight column, how many means from 6th standard to 10th standard, how many children have gained weight, that data will be stored. And in height column, what is the height? Sometimes क्या होता है, height remains as it is. Not everyone grows up, okay, to that particular height. So that height quotient can remain constant. So by my observation, I can just do this analysis. Okay. And the last method, questionnaire, they have given the last method as questionnaires filled and sent by enumerators. Do you know what is the meaning of enumerator? Let us see. Enumerators collect information directly by interviewing the persons. See, here they have mentioned. Enumerators collect information directly by interviewing the persons having information. Okay. So questions are explained and hence data is collected. So understood who is an enumerator? So questionnaire form of data collection is used for larger enquiries where from the persons who are getting surveyed. So let's say for example, अब elections आने वाले, so elections में क्या होगा? Some people will come to door and they will ask whether you have the election voters card. So they will be the enumerators. Now if I am already an adult, so I will have a voter card. But if some children who have just become adults, they don't have a voter card, then what that enumerator will do? He will ask for each and every house. Suppose in a particular house there is one student who is just being an adult right now. So now he wants to have a voter's ID. So enumerator क्या करेगा? He will go to each and every house, collect this information, and then based upon this primary information, the secondary data will be taken. So whoever is the boss of that enumerator, what he will do? Okay. In this, let's say for example, Prabhat Road area. In this particular area, enumerator will go from house to house, collect all information. Let's say the new voters ID which are required would be, let's say, 2 lakh in that particular area. So now based upon this primary data, secondary data will be collected. So he will get a list of all the students who need voters ID. And based upon that, the voters ID will be given. Understood this method? Okay. So this forms the basis of primary data. Now let us see what is secondary data. See, all these things are important because this is just the base of statistics. Most of the times, many children don't know this base at all. Okay. So that's why I always tell my students, we always start from the base. So if you see secondary data, there are many sources of getting secondary data. Okay, before that, let me check. Anybody has any doubt? Online students? Anyone? Okay. Just a minute. Okay. So now let us go to sources of secondary data. Now when we talk about sources of secondary data, they have given us examples over here. International sources like WHO, ILO, IMF, World Bank. Second are government sources like Statistical Abstract by CSO, Indian Agriculture Statistics by Ministry of Food and Agriculture, private and quasi-government sources like ISI, ICAR and NCERT, unpublished sources of various research institutes researchers. So what do? Researchers, they collect primary data. Based upon primary data, they use statistics, economics, start their analysis, and then they form a certain response. Okay. Now scrutiny of data. Now see, scrutiny of data is so very important. We have to ensure whether the data that is collected is correct or no. If the data is not correct, what will happen? The analysis will be done, but the result will be a failure. So scrutiny of data is very important. So statistical analysis can only be done on the base of data, scrutiny of data. Okay. So density we already know is population upon area. So if we have to find out density of a certain area, so if the area is more, density will be less. Why? Because density is equal to population upon area. So when density increase होगी, area क्या होगा? Decrease. और जब density increase होगी, that means population is also increasing. ठीक है? So sometimes error would be there. So what types of error do you think? First is the human error, copying mistake, जो हम बच्चे हमेशा करते हैं. Okay, so that is nothing but a human error. So errors in data may creep in while writing or copying the answer on the part of the enumerator. क्या हो सकता है ना? The enumerator is not writing the correct data. Correct. Then a keen observer can easily detect that type of error. Okay. So basically you have to verify whether they are internally consistent data or no. So a good statistician can also detect whether the returns submitted by some enumerators are exactly of the same type. If an enumerator is getting the same answers from all the houses, so that means there is some problem. Either the enumerator must not have gone to each and every house and collected the data, he would have just given it on his own. So a good statistician can observe this. Based on, if the data is repeated again, because it is not possible, right? From house to house, the data has to change. It cannot be one and the same. So a good statistician will detect this very easily. Then next is presentation of data. So classification, what is presentation of data? When we talk about the data that is collected and verified, okay, there has to be a homogeneity and a consistency. So classification or organization of data is very important. क्योंकि if you just write data haphazardly into a random manner, कुछ भी लिखोगे कहाँ पे भी, then it will not help us. So there has to be a certain type of presentation that is important. Okay. So classification or organization of data. Now what is organization? It is defined as a process of arranging data on the basis of the characteristic under consideration. यानी क्या? So basically, if you remember tally marks, what was that? Frequency distribution table we used to draw. Then from that we used to find out what is the actual frequency of each and everything, and then at the end we used to find out the total summation. Okay, so that is a particular type of organization of data, we can say. What are the advantages of classification of data? It puts the data in a neat, precise and condensed form so that it is easily understood and interpreted. So if I draw a table very nicely, then it will help me. Just by looking at the table, I can understand which data it is. Instead of reading each and everything, each and every paragraph, it is very easy for me from a table. Okay. Then it makes comparison possible between various characteristics if necessary, and thereby finding association or lack of it between them. So if I organize the data, suppose that data is regarding marks of students. Okay. So if I am going to compare each and every child's data, somebody must have got 90%, somebody must have got 80%, 40%. Then on an average, I will do the analysis. On an average, how many marks the student has got. Okay. So comparison is very easy. We can easily compare those two quantities or 3-4 quantities which give us the main answer. Okay, or the analysis. It helps us to do the analysis more effectively. Third, statistical analysis is possible only for classified data. Now, classified data यानी क्या? Whatever data is represented correctly, that is the classified data. So that analysis is possible only for classified. If the data is not classified, if suppose somewhere you are writing the height of a student, somewhere you are writing the weight of the student, somewhere you are writing whether the student is a male or a female, it will not help you in any way. Okay, it eliminates unnecessary details and makes data more readily understandable. Okay, this is very important. So data may be classified as chronological, geographical, qualitative and quantitative. So instead of using the words qualitative, quantitative, they can also ask ordinal and cardinal. So you should know that qualitative data is nothing but ordinal, quantitative data is nothing but cardinal. That you have to remember. Because such small things normally ICI asks for fill in the blanks or that type of questions. Chronological means chronology हमने history में पढ़ा है. What is a chronology of events or time series of an event? And second is a geographical. So let's say we are considering students studying in Pune or students studying in Mumbai. So based upon the geographical location, data can be easily classified. Now, mode of representation of data. Now this is important. Okay, and this is the base. First is the textual representation. Second is a tabular presentation or tabulation. And third is the diagrammatic representation. So if you see the textual representation, so this method comprises presenting data with the help of a paragraph or a number of paragraphs. So the official report of an inquiry commission is usually made by textual representation. So textual representation यानी क्या? Have you understood what is textual representation? It means in the form of a text, but it is very dull, boring. कौन इतना पढ़ेगा, ma'am? No. Table is more easier. Okay, so that is next, which is nothing but the tabular presentation. Now tabular presentation is interesting. A statistical table should be allotted a serial number along with a self-explanatory title. So title is must. From just by looking at the title, you understand which type of data it is. Okay, then so this is important. The table, see, this part is very, very important. This entire part. The table under consideration should be divided into caption, box head, stub and body. So caption means what? Upper part of the table, which will give us the heading of that table. Next, and the caption of course will describe the columns and sub-columns if any. The box head is the entire upper part of the table, which includes columns and sub-columns. So units of measurements लिखे होते हैं along with option, with caption. Stub is nothing but the left part of the table which provides the description of the rows. Suppose this is the height of the student, weight of the student, marks of the student. Okay, so that description is on the left hand part, which is nothing but the stub, and body is the main part of the table that contains the numerical figures. Okay, so numerical figures will be written on the right hand side. The table should be well balanced in length and breadth. The data must be arranged in a table in such a way that the comparison between different figures are made possible without much labor and time. The data should be arranged intelligently in a well-balanced sequence, and presentation of the data in the table should be appealing to the eyes. Textual presentation of data relating to the workers of raw enamel factories shown in the following table. Now this table let us take as an example. Now can you tell me what is a stub in this? Year 2009, 2010, that is the stub part. Which is the caption? Royal Enamel Factory ke workers. That should be the main caption. Okay. Then what are these captions called as? Member of TU, non-member and total. What are they called as? हमने देखा है. Box head. Box head is the entire upper part of the table which includes columns and sub-columns. So this is the box head. And also the units. So this is going to give us that part. And the numerical values. So numerical values are given over here. Now this is a horizontal table. But for vertical table, the numerical values will be given on the right hand side. Now next comes the diagrammatic representation of data. Now diagrammatic representation is very important. So this part is all from the module itself, which I am explaining you. This is the part of chapter number 13, statistics. Okay, this is all the theory part. Now the diagrammatic representation, when we talk about diagrammatic representation, which are the following type of diagrams? First is a line diagram or a histogram. Second, bar graph. Third is a pie chart. So can you see this graph? This is nothing but a line graph. They have given a line graph over here. This is called as a graph or a line graph. Why line graph? Because the points which are plotted, they are joined by a straight single line. Okay. So we can represent profits for 7 consecutive years by drawing either a line chart or a vertical bar chart. So showing line chart for the profit of an industrial house during 2009 to 2015. So just by looking at the diagram, it is very easy for us to understand what type of information is given to us, isn't it? Just by looking. So this is a line chart or a histogram. Next is a bar graph. Okay, so before we see, now just let us read about the line graph. This is important. When the data varies over time, we take recourse to a line diagram. In a simple line diagram, we plot each pair of values of t, y representing the time series at the time point t in ty plane. The plotted points are then joined successively by line segments, and the resulting chart is known as a line diagram. So when the time series exhibit a wide range of fluctuations, we may think of logarithmic or ratio chart. Yesterday we have done logarithms. What are logarithms? Remember, logarithm is nothing but the inverse of exponentiation. We have studied that. So multiple line charts can also be drawn. यहाँ पे उन्होंने जो दिखाया है हमें in the module, that is a single line chart. But multiple line charts can be there. You know, multiple data can be represented with the help of a line chart. Then second is a bar diagram. You already know what is a bar diagram. Everybody has done up till 10 standard. On the x-axis, which data is there, and on the y-axis, which data is there? Can you tell me? x-axis पे independent variable रहता है या dependent variable? पता है आपको? See, now this is a bar graph. Everybody knows a bar graph. So suppose this is your x-axis and this is your y-axis. On x-axis, what is mentioned? The years are given to you on x-axis, and on y-axis क्या बोला है? Profit in lakh rupees. So depending upon x-axis, only y-axis is going to differ, isn't it? So x-axis पे अब मुझे बताओ, when we are doing this, when we want to see the profit in lakh, okay, is there any relation कि कौन से year में कितना profit हुआ है? No, अभी हमें जानना है whether profit हुआ है या नहीं. So which will be the dependent variable? Y-axis is always the dependent variable and x-axis is always the independent variable. कौन सा भी year low? Is there a profit? Yes. So that can be seen on y-axis, not from the x-axis. So हमेशा please remember x-axis पे independent variable and y-axis पे dependent variable. ठीक है? So you know what are bars? These are bars, and there is a double bar diagram also, which you had done. Okay. So if there are two types of data to be shown using a bar graph, then that's a double bar graph. Now the third comes out to be. So हमने क्या क्या देखा? First हमने देखा line diagram, second हमने देखा bar diagram, और third जो है that is, so यहाँ पे उन्होंने multiple line charts दिखाए हैं. As I have already told you, multiple data can be shown on a line chart. Now यहाँ पे उन्होंने डबल बार ग्राफ, मल्टीपल बार ग्राफ दिखाया है. So from just by looking at this diagram, can you tell me what type of information is stored? But अभी जो x axis पे जो दिखाया है, so ये जो है, this is related to rice, और ये जो है, this is related to wheat. So the commodities are different. Two commodities are there. That's why double bar graph. ठीक है? So just by looking at the graph, you will understand what is given to you. Now, do you remember this pie graph, pie chart? Huh? So हमें पता है सबको that a circle is 360 degrees. Okay. Now suppose यहाँ पे हमें pie chart निकालना है for this type of data, that is customs revenue, excise revenue, income tax, corporate tax, and miscellaneous revenue is given to you. All right. So now here, as you can see here the source is given to you as customs. Okay. Revenue in millions of rupees is 80. First क्या हमें करना है, हमें निकालना है how many degrees we get for customs. Then next we'll find out how many degrees we get for excise. Next we will see income tax कितना है, corporate tax कितना है, और miscellaneous कितना है. ठीक है. So now the revenue for customs is given as 80. So 80 divided by total. What is total? But is it given? No. So you'll have to find out summation of these values, which comes out to be 540. Okay. So 80 upon 540 into 360. क्यों? क्योंकि हमें वो डिग्रीज का एंगल निकालना है. ओके. सो फर्स्ट कस्टम्स देता है हमें 53 डिग्री, देन एक्साइज हमें देता है 127 डिग्री, इनकम टैक्स 107, कॉर्पोरेट टैक्स 50, मिसलेनियस 23%. ठीक है. सो ये पाई चार्ट हमें क्या दिखाता है? इट शोज डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन ऑफ रेवेन्यू फॉर द डिफरेंट डिपार्टमेंट्स. सो अंडरस्टूड? कैन यू ड्रॉ दिस पाई चार्ट? Draw it. Take out your notebook and just draw this particular pie chart. Do these calculations and draw it and show it to me. If online students, if anybody has any doubt, please do let me know. So if anybody has any doubts, please ask. So please draw this diagram. If anybody has any doubt, please ask. Drawing this diagram is very important. So as you can see, you have to do all these calculations, find out the degrees, and then while drawing the pie chart, I'll show you what is to be done. So suppose this is a circle that you want to draw. Huh. So now first is custom. So you will just draw a baseline, which is the radius. Now first that we have, sorry. So first is customs. Custom is at 53 degrees. So one note is gone. Ka? Let me see. Just a minute. Okay, so now यहाँ पे 53 degrees you will draw. Let's say I don't have a protractor, but you will have to draw it correctly. Let's suppose this is 53 degrees. Suppose. Okay, so in this way. So now this was our baseline for customs. Then for the next part, our baseline will change to excise. So यहाँ पे you will draw excise. Excise का डिग्री क्या है 127. So it's an obtuse angle. So ये यहाँ पे वो obtuse angle दिखाना है. And so on. So in this way you will draw the pie diagram. Done? Finished? Now when we talk about frequency, what is frequency? How many times a data occurs in any statistical aspect? That either can be a variable or an attribute. Okay. A frequency distribution, यहाँ पे उन्होंने दिया है, a frequency distribution may be defined as a tabular representation of statistical data, usually in an ascending order, relating to a measurable characteristic according to individual value or a group of values of the characteristic under study. Okay. So now attribute hoga, let's say it is nationality. Either you have to find out the number of Indians, number of British, French, German. So this is nothing but what? It's a qualitative data. It is not a quantitative data, correct? British, Indian, German, French, this is a qualitative data. Now when we represent the numerical values, those will give us the quantitative data. So if you see, when tabulation is done in respect to a random variable, a discrete random variable or ungrouped or a simple frequency distribution, and in case the characteristic under consideration is a continuous variable, then it is said to be group frequency. So अगर discrete randomly data दिया है, that is going to be a discrete random variable. पर अगर group करके दिया है, it is going to be a group frequency distribution. So in case of group frequency, tabulation is done not against a single value as in the case of an attribute or a discrete random variable, okay, but against a group of values. So यहाँ पे अगर आपने देखा तो ये example दिया है in which boy girl the record is given to us. You have to construct a frequency distribution according to gender. So now how we will do that? If you can see, the category is given to you, number of births is given to you. So how many boys? 16. How many girls? 14. What is the total number of children? 30. Directly just by looking at the table you can, so this is called as frequency distribution. Okay. So this gives us a frequency distribution of babies according to their gender. Now frequency distribution of a variable, for a constructive of a frequency distribution of a variable, we have to find out the following steps. अब ये किसके लिए था? Just for discrete variable अगर रहेगा, discrete random variable रहेगा, then you will draw this particular table. Okay. So now यहाँ पे उन्होंने हमें बताया है, if you have to find out frequency distribution of a variable, you need to construct a frequency distribution. So what will you do? Find the largest and smallest observations and obtain the difference between them, which is called as a range. So पहले क्या आया? Range. So now write down. Give the heading as frequency distribution of a variable and write down what is a range. Range is equal to largest value minus smallest value. First is range. Range is equal to largest observation minus smallest observation. और रेंज कैन ऑल्सो बी गिवन बाय अ फॉर्मूला नंबर ऑफ क्लास इंटरवल्स यहाँ पे दिया है, नंबर ऑफ क्लास इंटरवल्स इनटू क्लास लेंथ, number of class interval into class length, which is again equal to range. Next is present the class or class interval in a table known as a frequency distribution table. So आपने क्या क्या लिखा? Range is largest observation minus smallest. Next, range is equal to number of class interval into class length. So यहाँ पे उन्होंने एग्जाम्पल दिया है. इफ यू सी द एग्जाम्पल, यू हैव टू मेक अ फ्रीक्वेंसी डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन ऑफ द प्रिंटिंग मिस्टेक्स. सो हमने एक वेरिएबल डिफाइन किया x. इट इज नथिंग बट x is the printing mistakes. It is a discrete variable. So x can assume 7 values: 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Why not 7? Because 7 is not given over here at all. So you will form 7 value. You will take that x discrete variable can take 7 values. So अभी 7 values है 0 to 6. अब 0 कितने बार आया है? Let us calculate. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So उसका टैली है 5. 1 5 बार, 2 6 बार, 3 6 बार, 4 4 बार, 5 2 बार और 6 2 बार. Okay, so basically they have found out the total. So can you form a frequency for this and also find out the range? For example, 13.1.6, construct a frequency distribution. So find out the smallest value pehle, then find out the largest value. So you will get what is the different values a variable can take. और उसके बाद वो frequency लिखो in the form of tally marks. ठीक है? So the smallest यहाँ पे कौन सा है? 44 smallest है. So 44 लिखो. उसके बाद consider this as a discrete variable. Okay, we are just drawing the table for discrete variable. यहाँ पे उन्होंने हमें कंस्ट्रक्ट करने को बोला है फॉर टेकिंग अ क्लास लेंथ एट 5. मींस यानी यहाँ पे ग्रुप फ्रीक्वेंसी लेके ये कंस्ट्रक्ट करना है. बट राइट नाउ आई एम टीचिंग यू हाउ टू कंस्ट्रक्ट अ फ्रीक्वेंसी टेबल फॉर अ डिस्क्रीट वेरिएबल. सो स्मॉलेस्ट से हमने शुरू किया 44. उसके बाद 45 कितने बार आया है? सो 44 हैज कम ओनली वंस. सो इट्स टैली मार्क इज 1. Do it. Chalo, I'll check. So we'll be doing it after you finish doing it. I'll explain or we can discuss. So construct a table. Once you finish, let me know. So we can check the tally marks. So हमने क्या किया है? First we have found out the smallest variable which comes out to be 44. 44 कितने बार आया है? Only once. ठीक है? Next is 45. Tell me 45 कितने बार repeat हुआ है? 1. Then comes 47. So 47 कितने बार? एक ही बार. 49. 49 is 2 times. Then comes 50. हाँ. Then 51. एक भी बार नहीं. 55 है नेक्स्ट. So 55 कितने बार रिपीट हुआ है? 2 बार. सी यहाँ पे और यहाँ पे. हाँ. और फिर 55 के बाद 56 एक ही बार. देन 57 दिस और दिस, सो 2 बार. 58 है क्या? नहीं. 59 1 2. 60 एक बार. 62 61 2 बार. 62 एक बार. देन 64 2 बार. 65 2 बार. हाँ 3 बार. 65 यहाँ यहाँ और यहाँ पे. करेक्ट. देन 67 is for how many times? 1. 68 3 times. उसके बाद 69 है? नहीं है. हाँ 69 है दिखा. So it is for 1 time once. Then 70 है. 1 2 2 3 and 4. 470 के वैल्यूज मुझे दिख रहे हैं. 71 नहीं है. 72 नहीं है. 73 is 1 2 and 3. I am checking counting the number. Okay, tally marks. और 73 ही हाईएस्ट है. So that's it. Now find out what is the total frequency. मुझे टोटल बताओ. यहाँ पे उन्होंने 36 बोला है. 36 BBA students are there. So find out whether our total is coming as 36. If you get the total as 36, that means you have got the correct frequency table. All right. So today we have discussed all the basics of statistics, which were very important. And from tomorrow, for tomorrow, I'm going to explain you statistics ka hi part, but mean, mode, median, quartile. All right. So I think we'll stop here for today. See you tomorrow. Bye bye.